So in this video, I want to kind of talk to you and for you to think about the more you're attached to something, the more you're not going to get it. Whereas thinking about the more detached you are, the more the chance of letting go and letting things happen naturally. And when you manage to let go, the likelihood of that thing happening is actually higher. Once you let go, you increase the probability of that thing, which we'll talk about in a moment, happening. Whilst doing this, you're naturally going to increase your vibrations higher. You're going to match with the higher people. So let's think about examples. So stuff I've experienced in my work with people as coaching, as therapy, counselling, social work is one of the biggest things that people kind of put so much attention to and attached and become kind of a little bit obsessive is finding love. How many people do you know that they'll put themselves out there on a dating site, going out and doing something, I don't know, going to the gym or focus, I'm going to meet someone at the gym. How many times do you see people doing that? A lot, isn't it? And people will do anything to try and commit to love, whilst actually what they're doing is creating resistance. And what I say to the people that I work with is, rather than saying, look for love, just let it go. Just let it go, let it come naturally to you. Because the more that you kind of put into this, the more resistance that you're putting on yourself. I want to know how many times people say that they attract love, or a soul partner, or someone who they kind of want to spend the rest of their life with. Do you know what? Is when they're not looking. When they're not actually looking, it's quite funny, isn't it? It's you kind of changing your vibration. You're kind of, when you're looking, people become desperate, so they're lowering their vibration, becoming less magnetic. Whereas when you just kind of let go, things happen because you're kind of working on yourself, you're on your own. You kind of get to know yourself, get to love yourself, and then slowly your vibration increases and the higher chance of finding someone who's at that vibration, high vibration, is so much higher. Another example of that is if you've lost something, oh gosh, it could be anything, your door key, a picture that you've had and you've like, did I put that in the garage, or where did I put that? Whereas the more you're opposing on those kind of situations, the more, how many times do you go and look for your key? And you think, where did I put that key? When you're not looking, doesn't it turn up? You know, I can say this because I've been there myself. I've been in situations where I've kind of put myself out there, gone on dating sites, gone to the gym to try and find love. It don't happen. The more you impose yourself onto other people, the less chance of finding something. There's going to be more resistance. And it's just the same as looking for your keys, when actually they're probably in your coat pocket where you last left them. Let the emotion of no one being there, you fall more in love with yourself. Did you know that? Being on your own, you can kind of, you know, you have those moments, people have those moments, don't they, at night? Oh gosh, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. That's because they've been used to it. You know, it's that attachment to another person. You're imposing those attachments onto another person. Whereas actually, just let it go and be on your own. Don't change your vibrational energy. Don't look for someone who is down there when you're kind of up here. It just doesn't work. It doesn't match. You're not kind of reaching your best potential. And what's the side effect of being on your own? Have a think. You get to love yourself more. You find out who you are, what you like, what you don't like, not thoughts about what the other person likes, and you put your needs second. And the more you're present and the more you're feeling with those emotions, is that you will become more magnetic. You will become so much more magnetic. Your vibrations will be higher and you will be matching with other people on that same realm. You won't have the resistance. How many times have you kind of been in these relationships, or whatever you want to call them, and you're not treating yourself healthy, you're not kind of making those wise decisions, your cup's empty, their cup's full. They're not filling your cup up, you need to fill your cup up. And when you're on your own, there's more chance of doing that. You know, you get to love yourself more. The more that you're on your own, you want to be more on your own. And what happens then is that you have a higher standard for the kind of people that you actually want in your life. You know, they respect your boundaries, they respect your values. You know, there's none of that challenge where you kind of feel like you're kind of feeling sticky and it's like, oh, I don't really want to do this, but I need to because the other person won't like me, or I won't feel amazing. But do you know what that is about? How many times do you look on social media and you see people, they're all filtered, yeah? And you're comparing yourself to them. You're comparing yourself to, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. Drop it, let it go, don't do it. Because half of the people that are on social media doing this, Instagram models, you know, those kind of avatar kind of things, that it's not real. Stop comparing, just let it go. You are not attracting to the people. You don't need them in your life, because actually probably what it is that there's all this fakeness, and actually if you saw them in real life, they're nothing like what you see them on Instagram. They're really not. They're complete opposite. Usually very insecure, low self-worth. Yeah. And that's actually coming back to the self-worth, is that's what you're doing. If you're lowering your standards, putting yourself second, you're not at your best. You're not doing what you should truly be doing, or what you feel you want to do, because that's not going to make you happy, whatever happy is. But how many times do people say, I want to be happy, I need a relationship to feel happy? That ain't going to make you happy. The only person who's going to make you happy is you. And when you higher your standards, you'll notice there's more people who come into your life, who you meet naturally, and they've got the same goals, they've got the same interests. So how do we kind of manage this? How do we kind of move on around those feelings of low self-worth? Fundamentally are usually down to shame or fear from past childhood trauma. You know, big boys don't cry, that kind of stuff. You must look pretty for boys to like you. You must do certain stuff to yourself. You must be skinny. You must be a certain size. Whereas actually, you know what is the best thing is actually feeling those emotions, sitting with them, sitting with the shame, the I'm not good enough, the low self-worth. Because the more you're able to sit with those feelings, is that the more you're able to heal. You are able to heal your trauma, your kind of conditions of worth, what you've been told all your life. And what does that look like? It looks like that the more you're able to feel those emotions, process them, and become resolved with those emotions, processing them, they're going. I mean, there might even be a purpose, or kind of that feeling of not being good enough because it's safe, it's familiar. isn't it? You've probably experienced it all of your life from a child, you know, not being good enough, not doing my best at school, not kind of doing what parents or caregivers told me to do. You know, you must be pretty to have a relationship. You must be a certain size, like I said. And the more you're going on social media and, you know, it's like toxic, isn't it? You know, you're going on there, you're looking, comparing yourself and kind of hurting yourself even more. Really, it's really painful. You kind of keep doing this all the time. And what are you getting from that? The addiction. But going back to feeling those feelings, is it too scary to feel those feelings? Because the only way to get over that is to feel them. Or are you looking up and praising this and thinking this is the best thing? So how do we get over and kind of move on? It's really difficult and it can be so painful, I get it. But it basically comes down to the degree of the attachment. So when I say like attachment, it's how attached you are. And I know that can be hard, as I've just said, you know, but the less you are attached to something, the easier it is. The easier you become more magnetic, seen, more visible, because your vibrations are rising. And, you know, thinking about my previous job, I worked in sales many, many moons ago. And I kind of think about, back then I was so attached to making sure I had so many sales a day. I was really competitive. I was good at my job. I'm not going to stand here and kind of be arrogant, but I was good. You know, I was selling courses, I was selling training, and I did really well, and I was really successful. But when I found that the more I became abundant, the more I let go of this kind of competitive side, because it went back to my early years of not being good enough. You know, you need to kind of do this to succeed and have all of this. The more I was able to kind of let go, the more gratitude and abundance I had. You know, letting go, I don't need to get so many sales today. And it's just going to happen. It's going to happen. You know, it's not the end of the world kind of feeling. You know, and I kind of do that now in my job. I don't put too much attachment on it because it's not helpful for me. And then I'm putting expectations massively on the clients that I work with. And how helpful is that? It's not, is it? If I put all of my expectations and attachments, you must feel better, you must do that to be able to move on. Whereas actually, if it's done in more an holistic way, you know, letting go of all of those kind of conditions, it naturally happens because you are at a different vibration, you're higher, and then you're modelling this to the people that you work with. You know, putting it back to those relationships, thinking about having a relationship and those expectations and, you know, of when you're younger, it's going to be so much fairy tale, it's this, it's that, I'm going to be amazing, you know, we're going to have an amazing life and sail off like we do into the films, you know. And it doesn't happen like that, does it? You know, there's arguments, there's challenges, there's debates, discussions, right? I'm not saying that relationships are hideous. What I'm saying is the complete opposite. I'm saying that, you know, relationships, being in love, having a marriage, or whatever you want to call it, can be some of the most happiest times in your life. You know, you're sharing your life with another person. But it's got to be at the same level. You know, you can't be up and down, you know, the vibrations, because it just won't work. And putting those attachments on the other person, those projections, those expectations, you know, it just doesn't work. Whereas if you kind of let it go and kind of take that on yourself, take it on board yourself and work with that yourself, it's going to be so much better for you and for them. You know, going off and having your own independence, you know, your own hobbies. You don't need to always do things together, do you? I mean, it's good to get out and go on a walk or climb a mountain or hike a mountain or whatever you want to call it together with someone who you love, because it can give you so much joy. But what I'm also saying is, don't be putting all of your expectations on that person to do that with you. You need your own life as well. You know, you need to kind of resolve and take it all back, all of those expectations on that other person, and let it go. Let things happen naturally. It's one of the only ways of relationships working, because so many people put expectations, and it can come across really controlling. It can be quite abusive and toxic. You must do that with me. You must do that. I should be doing that. All of the shoulds and oughts and musts don't work. It's about clear communication without having those expectations and attachments. Because do you know what that's going to cause? Massive resistance. And then you're going to need marriage counselling or therapy. So, what am I doing here? I'm doing this discussion today because I'm really passionate about it. I'm really passionate about, you know, kind of those, how things can happen from when you're a child can impact on your friendship, romantic relationship. Yeah. And what I'm kind of trying to explain is that if we let that go, if we process those emotions from when we were younger, it's going to be a godsend. It's going to be so helpful for you in your even friendships. You know, even with your own children, how many expectations do parents put on their children? You must achieve this. You must do that. You must do your GCSEs or exams and get this grade. Yeah, it's usually the first one. Or you must not feel this feeling. How many times do adults have bad days? How many times? A lot. How many times are children allowed bad days? Never. What happens? You get a phone call from school. Little Johnny down the road is gone off, you know, because he couldn't sit his exam, you know, and then what happens then? It becomes low in mood, becomes anxious, it becomes depressed. And then what happens? He goes introvert, doesn't leave the room, scared of opening up. That's how things can escalate over time. So, you know, support your child, support your partner, support your friends, but let go of your expectations. Yeah, you want your child to do amazing, reach their best potential, or your partner, but you're putting your own needs and resistance on those people. Hope that all makes sense. But I'm going to be, I do counselling, therapy, coaching. I'm a social worker. I do it all over the years. Over the last 15 years, I've done so much training because I think doing this is going to help me on my practice. I do a lot of CPD, which is continually professional, developing myself. I want to be the one who people come to say, I need some advice. Can we do this? But I also do a lot of meditation and mindfulness. And, you know, I was there many years ago where you probably are, you know, stuck in them dead-end relationships where you think, what am I doing? You know it at the back of your head, don't you? You know it. But sometimes it's scary to say, I don't feel, I can't tell this other person that. And then you're denying yourself, you're lying to yourself, you're lying to that other person. And yeah, if you're finding that, you know, coming out of a relationship, what's been toxic or abusive or controlling, however you want to call it, and you're feeling lost, I don't know where to go, I'm on my own now. It's scary, it's painful, really painful, especially every night you were with that person, you know, You're going to bed alone, no hugs, no snuggles, none of that. And that comes back to childhood again, doesn't it? Where you could have felt rejected and abandoned. You know, and you're feeling it again, it's bringing unresolved trauma potentially up. And what I'm saying is that we need to acknowledge this, we need to feel the feelings. If you feel it and it's not resolving, is, you know, access therapy, counselling, coaching by a professional. You know, and this is where I come in. I do this in my private work. I kind of help support men and women that have gone through difficulties in their childhood, and it's impacting on their romantic relationships or friendships or generally in life. You know, you're a bit lost. So if you're interested, just hit on my website, like this, please, if you can. Subscribe, send me a message. You know, we can have a free discovery call, we can chat things over. And then if you want to work with me, it's a mutual thing, it's a mutual relationship. You know, I set goals, I give you homework. You've got to be accountable for yourself. You can't go through life just thinking, I'm going to feel like this, I'm going to do that. You know, part of being an adult is being accountable for your emotions, your self-worth, you know, processing that. And I give healthy challenge. You know, it's really healthy to do that as a professional. You know, if I think it's going to help you evolve and feel more empowered as a person, you know, I can do that online or face-to-face. I'm in Cornwall, so I have my own practice, therapy room. If you want to work with me, that'd be amazing. You know, we can kind of work together. If you don't and you're just interested in just having a discovery call, I'm thinking, actually, no, I'm not feeling that at the minute, but in 6 months I may do, then we can do that. I work with people I don't do one-off sessions. You know, people don't change in a one-off session. You don't even build up that trust with a practitioner, do you, within 6 sessions sometimes it can be, especially if there's a lot of history and trauma and a chronology of difficulties, because it is, for me in my practice, it is about going back. It is about going back to them early years. I can do a sort of short session for like 2 months, which may help, it may kind of resolve your difficulties, but I think the best way is doing that over a longer period, 3 to 6 months, and I do those packages, 3, 6 and 12 months and 9 months. And we review all the time. I review my practice with you. So thank you for listening today, and yeah, like and subscribe and send me a message. Take care.